The ratings for CNN have imploded 60% as the woke NBA sees their lowest viewership ever. In this video, we're going to take a look at the utter collapse in CNN's ratings, why the NBA is seeing a comparably dramatic decline in their viewership, and why both CNN and the NBA have once again proven the undeniable truth of that age-old adage, get woke, go broke. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Wonderful to be with you. As always, we're here to give you each and every single day conservative hope in the midst of these turbulent and trying times, helping you to think better so you can feel better and provide for you a patriot path to freedom. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, gang, make sure to click on the link below and head on over to my special website for My Patriot Food Supplies. With this whole pandemic insanity, we cannot wait for emergency to happen before we respond to one, and no one makes preparing for an emergency more ridiculously easy and affordable than My Patriot Supply. Gang, they're simply the best. Their food kits last up to 25 years in storage. They include breakfast, lunches, and dinners, and if you act right now, you can save $50 off a full 4-week emergency food supply when you click on that link below to my special website. So do not wait. I got my food supply. Make sure you get yours. Click on that link below or go to preparewithsteve.com. Save $50 off your very own 4-week emergency food supply today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. You know, Fox News is having a little fun at CNN's expense. They're reporting that CNN's audience has dropped an astonishing 60%, the most coveted advertising demographic of 25 to 54-year-olds. They're not even averaging at this point 250,000 viewers. They're under 250,000 viewers, which is beyond embarrassing for a multi-billion-dollar news corporation. Again, keep in mind, you've got YouTubers, content creators with $100 webcams getting more viewers than CNN. In terms of overall viewership, they've gone from an average of 2.2 million viewers per day in the first few weeks of 2021 to now barely a million, representing a staggering decline of 54% in the ratings. In terms of their primetime lineup, CNN viewership has fallen from an average of 3.1 million viewers in the 8 to 11 p.m. time slot at the beginning of the year to now just 1.4 million, which represents a 55% decline. And the lineup has seen as well a disastrous 63% decline to the crucial 25 to 54-year-old demographic. Now, in fairness, it wasn't just CNN. MSNBC lost 34% of their total day viewers and 30% of their primetime viewers. But there's no question CNN is now most certainly the most trusted name in fake news. Now, obviously, things weren't helped last week, and I'm referring, of course, to the bombshell report released by Project Veritas, where a hidden camera caught a director at CNN speaking candidly to one of Project Veritas's undercover journalists about the radical leftist political motives over at CNN during the 2020 presidential election. The staffer, who has been identified as CNN Network Technical Director Charles Chester, told the undercover journalist that CNN was indeed peddling in what he called, quote, propaganda, and not only trying to get rid of President Trump from office, but he also admitted that they were planning on pushing the same propaganda in terms of what they're calling the pending climate emergency in the future. In other words, climate change was going to replace COVID as a new emergency that we all had to come together and face in a comparably compromising manner. And that's because, according to this director, fear sells, man. Fear sells. And boy, does it ever. So, CNN continues to embarrass itself, and none other than the king of embarrassment, Brian Stelter, was confronted over all of this when asked for his reaction to the hidden camera sting that caught one of their directors admitting their far-left bias. Stelter actually called for security to have the Project Veritas reporter removed. Check this out.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Give me 1 second. CNN embraced Director Chester's philosophy of the news.
Do you think it's going to be just like a lot of like fear, like climate?
Yeah, fear sells. Fear sells.
Does fear sell? Does Charlie Chester still employed at CNN?
I feel really bad for you.
Why is that? Mr. Stelter, we have a few more questions. Do you report any news that Jeff Zucker doesn't directly tell you to report? Do you have any comment? Do you use his words, propaganda? Sure. Is Charlie Chester still employed at CNN?
I feel really bad for you.
Why do you feel bad for me? We're journalists.
Okay.
Why do you feel bad for me? Are you a journalist? Are you able to report anything that's not directly
I report
handed
whatever
down?
I want. You need to leave.
Do you want them? Oh, okay.
Okay, Mr. Stelter, do you have any other comment on Charlie Chester?
You have to walk out.
What a joke! What a complete and total joke. And you know, his shirt really says it all, right? Did you see what it said? Journalism matters now more than ever. You see, if you wanted to know why CNN's ratings are crashing, why they're hemorrhaging viewers, you need look no farther than that. CNN represents what scholars call a performative contradiction. Do you know that term? A performative contradiction. A performative contradiction is when you end up affirming what you're denying in the very manner of the denial. So, for example, it's not hard. If I said, I cannot express myself in words, okay, what did I just do? Right? I actually performed what I claim I can't perform, right? My denial actually ended up affirming what I was trying to deny. I used words to deny that I knew how to use words, right? Or same thing, I cannot speak a word of English, right? You see, these are what we call performative inconsistencies, performative contradictions, where you end up affirming what you're trying to deny in the very denial. It's basically a Don Lemon show, right? It's like when someone says there's no such thing as truth. The obvious response to that is what? Is that true, right? Do you believe that denying all truth is actually true? That's a performative contradiction, all right? And it's a married bachelor. And that's what CNN has become. The fundamental problem with CNN and the mainstream Marxist media as a whole is that everyone can see that they are radically left. They are far left activists disguised as journalists, and yet they purport to be completely and totally objective and disinterested in the news information that they report. Remember that Chiron? Do you remember when CNN had that Chiron fiery but mostly peaceful protest during the whole George Floyd riots? Do you remember that? Fiery but mostly peaceful That's right. The arsonists here are mostly peaceful arsonists. It's fiery. Yes, it's fiery. There's a lot of arson involved, but keep in mind, they are mostly peaceful. They are very peaceful arsonists. There are certainly those who are setting buildings and cars ablaze. Yes, that's true. But it should be noted that all the scorching and destruction is being done in the midst of a mostly peaceful protest. This is the square circle school of media reporting. This is the media that presents mobs knocking down historic statues and monuments as anti-racism protesters. Then they turn around and report on those who splash paint across a Black Lives mural as far-right extremist vandals engaged in hate crimes. This is the square circle school of media reporting. That's the contradictory nonsense that we've been treated to 24/7 at CNN. Whoever said protests were supposed to be peaceful, right? Remember that, Chris Cuomo? Then the Chiron says, fiery but mostly peaceful protests. I mean, the irony here is that the Academy has long recognized the propensity towards bias in the media. There's actually a field of study called agenda setting theory. It's a field of study that explores the influence of the media on setting the political agenda and prioritizing political causes and policies. It's long been recognized that what the mainstream media focuses on or what current events get attention is a major, major driver of what counts as a viable political agenda, which of course is always radical left, always. So this is why we're not exaggerating in the least when we call, these reporters left-wing activists disguised as journalists, right? They are political agenda setters and they know it. And this is where the trustworthiness of the legacy media has been increasingly called into question. And that's because the political agenda of the media is deliberately disguised as simply impartial, objective, disinterested news that's inherently agenda-free or politically neutral. So as long as the legacy media pushes this overt contradiction, as long as they spin their deliberate agenda setting as agenda-free, their trustworthiness continues to implode. As long as CNN tries to push their overt left-wing political and cultural bias as the so-called most trusted name in news, they will continue to see that trust implode. As it should. And you know what else is imploding? The ratings for the NBA. Check this out. The NBA's ratings are down 45% since 2012. Their ratings have utterly imploded since going woke, since splattering Black Lives Matter on their courts. NBA games on ABC, the league's most important partner, plummeted 45% since the 2011-2012 season. On cable, the free fall has been slightly less, with TNT broadcast down 40% and the ESPN broadcast down 20%. The reason for this is rather simple. We've talked about what may be the most comprehensive survey ever done on other videos. It was a study conducted by Philip Stutz, and he published the results for Medium.com under the title, Sports Has a Problem and Being Woke Ain't Helping. And in it, what he does is he details the findings of some stunning data on sports fan sentiments towards this new revival of wokeness that's swamped professional sports. And what he did is he literally surveyed hundreds of thousands of sport fans, as well as millions of bits of data from connected devices, online decisions, all this stuff conglomerated together. And here's the conclusion, quote, 87 to 92% of Americans don't want corporations and athletes preaching woke politics. You aren't crazy for wanting to watch games and be distracted in these weird times instead of being told how bad a person you are for not agreeing with a woke reporter or athlete's opinion. I mean, did you hear that? 87 to 92% of Americans, one of the most extensive surveys yet, want nothing to do with woke sports, period. They want nothing to do with woke sports. And increasingly, they want nothing to do with the most woke name in fake news. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. Click on the link below, check out some of our awesome merch. And I definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how the ultra-left Maxine Waters is being accused of inciting violence as calls for her impeachment explode. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.